So you can see from this survey, majority people think this is finally made things clear. A woman is a biological woman. You, as a judge, disagree.
Well, I do, and
This is the trans judge who is so bitter about the Supreme Court ruling that says that a biological man cannot go to the women's loos, that he, I will say he, is going to take the government to the European Court of Human Rights to try and have it overturned. ECHR, that old chestnut, used once again to throw common sense out of the window.
I don't know any lawyers who find the judgment clear at all. Of course, the concept of biological sex is something that is not a legal term that's been known before. So the court unfortunately failed to say what they meant, so that doesn't help.
OK, and you're taking legal action now.
Yes, I'm going to go to the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg.
What's the petition? What are you going to say?
Well, what's happened is that the Supreme Court has departed from a case that was decided in about 2002, which led to the Gender Recognition Act, which is the act that enabled us to re-register our births and to change our legal sex, as the statute says. And the court has gone against that. But they also, unfortunately, failed to hear any trans people and excluded me and others from the court, so that we weren't actually heard making any points.
And what do you say to those behind the legal action, of course, and presumably to those in the survey, who say, you may be able to say that you have changed your sex, but you have not changed your biological sex. And therefore, for instance, if you're playing in a football match, there are biological factors that come with being born a man.
Yes, I mean, and in this country for the last 20 years, the law has been that if it's not fair, then a trans person can be excluded. So there's nothing new in this. But it's case by case. I'm 8 stone. I don't have the muscles of a man. Most female footballers would make mincemeat of me. But some people are bigger than others. And I entirely agree that you shouldn't have situations where any woman is in some sense at risk, or which is unfair.
But can you see how that has happened? I mean, we've seen those cases in Scotland.
Cases, yes.
You know, criminals then transitioning and saying, I'm a woman going into a female prison.
I mean, my experience as a judge, I mean, I was involved in writing guidelines for judges, and I know that the guidance there is that, you know, if you get some rapist who turns up at court saying, despite having been Bob all his life, turns up and says, hello, I'm Julie today, he's probably just lying, because bad people lie. And they're called trans, I think, by people labelling them as trans, and they may call themselves trans, but doesn't make it true.
I mean, a fair point there, that they are probably lying, the criminals, when they go and try and get themselves into women's prisons so that they can then rape the women. Yes, they are probably lying, but how are you going to prove it, right? The reason why we have had this Supreme Court ruling, particularly with regard, you know, the main issue that we're talking about is things like loos and changing rooms, is because there has been a significant issue with men claiming to be women going in to those bathrooms, committing sexual assaults and whatnot. We had a horrific report come out about what's happening at leisure centres in the UK, where the general guidance for leisure centres in the UK was that they should have mixed sex changing rooms, but just had, you know, cubicles that you can go in to get changed. But that caused absolute chaos. It did not prevent, you know, horrific attacks on girls from happening. You had issues with, because the cubicles do not go all the way from the ceiling to the floor, the door, people were putting phones over and filming girls. We had, you know, way higher numbers of sexual assaults as a consequence of these mixed sex changing rooms, right? That's the problem. It may be the case that all of the people that have been voyaging, committing sexual assaults and whatnot in those changing rooms are people who are claiming to be trans but aren't actually trans, do not actually believe that they're women. They are just saying that so that they can get in a space with women, okay? I get that. Or maybe it's a mix. Maybe there are people who are genuinely feel that they are in the wrong body, genuinely feel that they are a woman when they were born a man, and also happen to be a rapist. But it doesn't matter, right? Because the problem is we cannot prove, okay? If someone claims, I am a woman, and they were previously a man, how do you prove whether that is someone who's saying that to try and get into a women's space so that they can do something evil and morally wrong, or is someone who genuinely believes that they are a woman? Okay, you can't prove it, and that is the issue here. That is why we need to just say, sorry, biological men, you can't be in women's spaces, because you can't prove, mentally. You can't just do a brain scan and be like, oh yes, I can tell from this brain 100% sure this is a man who this is a woman trapped in a man's body. It's just not possible, right? So yeah, it's just silly. And you know what I'm just fed up of? I'm fed up of the ECHR being used as the get out of jail free card, the way out of everything, the way it's been used, right to a family life, Article 8 and all of this to stop, grooming gang perpetrators being deported from this country. How many stupid cases do we need to have? Chicken nuggets, can't get a good haircut in your own country, so can't be deported. Rapists not being able to be sent back to, where was it, Jamaica, because they think they might be bisexual and they might get treated badly there. I'm like, I don't care, you're a rapist, get out of Britain, doesn't matter, right? And now this, you would think the Supreme Court, that's it, that is as far as it can go. That's the highest court in the UK. Done, dusted, no more arguing. But oh no, ECHR, some European bureaucrats, let's try and use them to overturn this ruling because we're bitter and we just can't accept the result for what it is. I mean, it's just absolutely pathetic. We need to leave the ECHR, but I expect, with Starmer's EU reset and all of this, we'll probably get even closer to the ECHR, let's be honest. We'll just let them tell us to do whatever we want. Looks like we'll probably be ending up with more European Court of Justice judgments, a different court, but it's still European bureaucrats getting involved, making decisions about how Brits should live their lives, what rules they should live by. It is deeply, deeply wrong. So fingers crossed this appeal to the ECHR is not successful. I will be extremely furious if it is the case that this trans judge is able to get the Supreme Court ruling overturned. That would be, I think that is misogyny at its finest. If biological men are able to take the Supreme Court ruling and get it overturned because they want to be in our loos and our changing rooms so badly, what you do have to ask, why so bad? Why do you so badly want to be in our spaces? It just does not make sense unless you have some sort of motive, I say. Sal Grover says, if he was actually a woman, he would be celebrating the accurate definition of a woman. The only reason he is having this reaction is because he is not a woman. It is that simple. And Kelly J. Keane shared this clip saying, pervy man having a normal one. Pervy man being referring to the trans judge, not Susanna Reid, that is the one appearing on screen at the time of that screenshot. But there we go. Hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chloe Dobbs. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Reasoned if you've not already.